What would you do if the one place you called your own, your sanctuary, your hard-won home, was suddenly claimed by someone you loved, someone your family always loved more? For me, that someone was my sister, Lila, the golden child who could do no wrong. This is the story of how she tried to take everything I'd built, how our parents stood by her side, and how I fought to hold on to what was mine. I'd always known Lila was the favorite. Growing up, her laughter filled our house like music, while my quiet diligence went unnoticed. She was the artist, the dreamer, the one who could charm anyone with a smile. I was the practical one, the one who worked 2 jobs through college, who saved every penny to buy a small, ivy-covered house in a quiet suburb. It wasn't much, a 2-bedroom cottage with creaky floors and a tiny garden, but it was mine. Every nail I hammered, every wall I painted, felt like a declaration of independence from a family that never quite saw me. Lila, meanwhile, drifted through life. She'd start projects, a boutique, a blog, a music career, only to abandon them when the shine wore off. Our parents always bailed her out, paying her rent, covering her debts, praising her free spirit. I never resented her for it, not really. I loved her. She was my sister, after all, and her visits to my house were rare but warm, filled with her stories and that infectious laugh. But last spring, everything changed. It started with a phone call. Lila's voice was shaky, not her usual breezy tone. "I'm coming to stay with you, okay, Ellie? Just for a bit." She'd lost her apartment again after another failed venture. I hesitated, but what could I say? She was family. I opened my door, expecting a week, maybe 2. But weeks turned into months, and Lila didn't just stay, she took over. She rearranged my furniture, claiming it felt better this way. She used my savings to buy art supplies, promising to pay me back when her next project took off. My quiet evenings became her stage, filled with friends I didn't know, music I didn't like, and messes I didn't make. I tried to be patient, to set boundaries, but Lila had a way of making me feel small, like I was selfish for wanting my space. "It's just a house, Ellie," she'd say, laughing. "Why are you so uptight?" Then came the twist I never saw coming. One evening, as I cleaned up after another of her impromptu parties, a stranger knocked on my door. His name was Tom, a soft-spoken man in his 50s, with kind eyes and a hesitant smile. He was Lila's landlord, or had been, until she'd convinced him to let her break her lease by spinning a sob story about needing to heal at her sister's house. But there was more. Tom revealed Lila had been telling everyone, friends, neighbors, even our parents, that my house was hers. She'd shown them pictures, claimed she'd bought it years ago, and said I was just crashing here. I stood frozen, the dish towel in my hand, trembling. My sister wasn't just staying, she was rewriting my life. I confronted Lila that night. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "I was just joking around. People know it's not serious." But the hurt cut deeper when I called our parents, hoping for support. Mom's voice was soft but firm. "Lila's going through a lot, Ellie. You have so much, a house, a stable job. Can't you share a little?" Dad chimed in, "She's always looked up to you. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I hung up, my chest tight. My parents, the ones who'd never shown up for my college graduation or housewarming, were siding with her. Again. The next weeks were a battle. Lila's presence became a siege. She'd leave legal documents on the table, fake ones, I later learned, hinting at her claim to the house. She'd invite realtors over, pretending to show the property. I felt like a guest in my own home, my sanctuary shrinking with every bold move she made. But the real blow came when I found an email on her open laptop, one she hadn't meant for me to see. It was to our parents, detailing her plan to convince Ellie to sign over the deed because she deserved it more. "Ellie's always been fine on her own," she wrote. "She doesn't need this house like I do." I could have screamed, could have thrown her out. But something in me shifted. This wasn't just about the house, it was about being seen, being valued, being enough. I'd spent my life in Lila's shadow, but I wasn't invisible. Not anymore. I started small, reclaiming my space. I changed the locks when she was out, packed her things neatly, and left them on the porch with a note, "This is my home. You need to leave." When she returned, furious, I stood my ground. "You don't get to take this from me," I said, my voice steady for the first time in months. She left, but not without tears and accusations, calling me heartless. The fallout was brutal. Our parents called, outraged. "How could you do this to your sister?" Mom cried. Dad didn't speak to me for weeks. Lila spun a new narrative, telling everyone I'd kicked her out in her time of need. Friends I thought I had drifted away, swayed by her charm. But Tom, the landlord, stayed in touch. He'd seen through Lila's stories, and his quiet support coffee meetups, shared stories of family struggles became a lifeline. He wasn't just a stranger anymore, he was a friend, a reminder that not everyone believed Lila's lies. Months later, I learned the truth about Lila's schemes. Tom helped me dig deeper, and we found she'd been scamming others too. Small cons, borrowed money, promises she never kept. It wasn't just me she'd hurt. I reached out to our parents, not with anger, but with evidence. They listened, finally, and though they didn't apologize, their silence spoke volumes. Lila moved across the country, chasing another dream, and I let her go. Not out of hate, but because I'd learned to protect my peace. My house is mine again. The creaky floors, the tiny garden theory, more than just a place now. They're proof I can stand up for myself, even when the world tells me to step aside. I still love Lila, somewhere deep down, but love doesn't mean letting someone take what's yours. Sometimes, it means drawing a line and saying, "This is enough." As I sit in my garden, watching the ivy climb, I think about Tom's words over coffee, "You didn't just save your house, Ellie. You saved yourself." And he's right. This wasn't just about a house, it was about me, finally stepping out of the shadow of the golden child, and into my own light.